This episode of the Coarse podcast has been brought to you by Central Sports and Graphics Incorporated, family-owned and operated screen printing and embroidery business located in a historic storefront on Old Berwick Road in the heart of Espy. They've been doing screen printing for over 20 years. They have high-quality product at a low price. Be sure to check them out. Central Sports and Graphics Incorporated, 570-784-1212. Now, on to the show.
Hi, this is Stephen Reichland from Project Fire and Project Smoke, and you're listening to Shawn Rosler on the Coarse Grind podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is episode number 149. It's getting so high I can't count. I was an English teacher, not a math teacher. With you as always, host, creator, Shawn Rosler. How is everyone doing this evening? You know, I warned you at the end of last episode that it was going to be time to go home yet again. And true to form, that's exactly what we're doing. The old adage of not being able to go home again has, I think at this point, suffered a timely and well-deserved demise, especially when you're talking about my hometown of Honesdale. Philly Mag actually just put out one of the best pieces of journalism I've read, I'm partial, I get it, on our town and its stunning renaissance in quite literally every way possible. And while those of you who listen on the regular might expect a restaurant of some form, that's not what we're here to talk today. No, we'll be looking at coffee and chocolate. Not just chocolate, but some incredible chocolate. Not just coffee, but some incredible coffee, all with an incredible cause from an incredible humanitarian and his team. As luck would have it, we have the honor of chatting with the latter, the humanitarian himself. You know, since you can't talk to chocolate or coffee, that'd just be weird. With motivations including good coffee, great chocolate, his family, and empowered communities. Tonight's guest moved to Cameroon in 2007. And has been working on international business development ever since. His passion for social entrepreneurship led him to establish humanitarian projects in West Africa, North India, Central Mexico, and eventually to co-founding a cacao and tropical fruit farm in Cameroon, along with a bean-to-bar chocolate factory in Honesdale. Yes, you read that. Well, I read it, you heard it. Our guest currently serves as the managing director for the Himalayan Institute Cameroon and CEO of MOKA Origins, where he manages supply chain, marketing, and brand strategy, while also overseeing reciprocity and impact at Origin, as if that wasn't quite enough. He also serves as the president of the Himalayan Institute Humanitarian and is a board member on the FedEx Entrepreneur Advisory Board. All that aside, here's what I know. One visit to MOKA and learning of their mission, I knew this was one that had to happen. And to say I'm honored to speak with this true pillar of empowerment rooted in my hometown as well as the world over is a marked understatement. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen and everyone in between, the CEO and co-founder of MOKA Origins located in my dear Honesdale, Pennsylvania, Mr. Jeff Abella. Sir, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Shawn. Thanks so much for having me. I love the intro. And for a moment there, I forgot we were talking about chocolate and coffee.
We're talking about that only because you made it such a thing. And before we go any further, it is Tuesday, December 1st. And for those of you in the know, it's Giving Tuesday. So before we even go anywhere, talk to me, Jeff. What's MOKA up to on this Giving Tuesday?
Absolutely. So Giving Tuesday for us is just an important day. It allows us to remember that there's a world around us, and that, you know, in such a kind of consumer-centric culture, there's a way to use good purchasing decisions to change the world, as well as supporting causes that we believe in. And so, yeah, for us on Giving Tuesday, it's getting clear on some of our humanitarian intentions at MOKA Farm in Cameroon, and then some of the other not-for-profits that we support.
Yeah, and I mean, definitely going to get into all of that as it is truly the cornerstone that made it such a remarkable visit. And listen, folks, with a group like MOKA Origins, you know, the question of Giving Tuesday isn't even there. But I felt the need to bring it up because of what an amazing organization, what little I know of you and your group, Jeff, MOKA Origins truly is. But before we get rolling there, I want to let listeners new to the program, listeners with terrible short-term memories like mine, we have starters, mains, and afters. We're going to talk to the guests during starters about where they came from, what brought them to where they're at. A little bit different today, not a restaurant, kids, pay attention. Mains, we're going to talk about what it is they're doing, what drives them, what keeps them going. And finally, afters, a little bit more irreverent, a little bit more off the cuff. No one has been seriously injured in 148 episodes, so I don't see that happening today. So, without further ado, let's take a step back from the incredible world travel, humanitarian efforts, coffee chocolate, and talk about Jeff Abella. Where and what did you grow up eating?
Well, believe it or not, it was chocolate, but it wasn't the kind that we're making today.
I'm sure of that.
Yeah, and if I would have at that moment thought of a $7 or a $15 chocolate bar, I wouldn't have been able to relate, and I would have thought it was crazy.
Right.
And when I look back at that moment, it's interesting how our company has coffee and chocolate at the forefront, but it's really not about coffee and chocolate as so much the work we're trying to do. And I'm originally from Madison, Wisconsin, with a background in audio engineering, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
And I worked for my father's company for about 6 years, working with ad agencies, doing marketing and commercials, and fell in love with small business management and entrepreneurship, and always, however, felt a little bit of a lack of purpose and wanted to kind of redefine my life around a point of impact. And so I did what naturally anyone would do. I quit my job and I moved to Africa to start a cocoa farm. That was in 07.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm going to quit my job and move to Africa, Jeff. I think that might just be a you thing. If I had to be honest there. So audio engineering, Madison, Wisconsin, eating chocolate growing up. Was it the point in time where you moved to Africa? When was the moment that the whole concept struck you? Like, tell me how it happened, because I'm sure between audio engineering and you talking to me today, there were a couple steps. You didn't just go right to where you're at.
Absolutely not. We started, my wife and I moved from Madison to Pennsylvania for a not-for-profit called the Himalayan Institute. They do a lot of great development work overseas, and they were launching a new set of programs in Cameroon and looking for people with small business backgrounds. So we joined that. We were within a few months of landing in PA, stationed in Cameroon, moved there, and fell in love with this coffee growing region in the northwest part of the country. Beautiful rolling hills. We're at about 6,000 to 7,000 feet elevation. And our focus was building a network of libraries and health centers in participation with the local community. And 13 years later, just completely continued to fall in love with this community. And as kind of important as health and education are, it's hard to ignore how important economic development is and livelihood, period. And without livelihood and sustainable income, farmers and communities like that can't take advantage of the health care and educational programs anyway.
Sure. And I think, folks who have maybe heard a couple Farm to Table episodes here on the show, I try to emphasize this as much as humanly possible. Farming is this much overlooked practice, this lifeblood that people just assume is there. And I'm sure somebody like you, Jeff, that's not the case, and that it takes effort, and sometimes it takes that external stimulus to really get it moving. What has that been like for you?
Put.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's completely overlooked. And when I had kind of this moment of realization when, so we started building these health centers, and we ended up building a laboratory that manufactures health products right in this community. And we were approached by a lot of farming cooperatives who were coffee co-ops that weren't only growing coffee because it didn't provide them with enough income to sustain their life. So they were looking for other things to do. So we started employing coffee growing co-ops and farmers to also grow medicinal herbs that our manufacturing center would turn into health products. And we just completely got, fascinated by the idea that agriculture can go a long way to create jobs in these rural communities when the supply chain is fair. And how you don't really think of it as not being fair until you kind of dig in and you see that the living wage income that coffee and cocoa farmers need isn't being met. And so I started just questioning everything. Like, how could two crops, chocolate and coffee, which feed billions of people around the world, not afford to feed the farmers who grow the beans? And what is chocolate anyway? And how could a chocolate bar really only cost $1 when farmers put so much energy into growing the beans that they're made out of? And through that questioning and experimenting and really getting to know the challenges that the farmers face, we started growing small trial plots of coffee and working with cocoa farmers, bringing their beans to our center. Started doing some small batch roasting, on a kind of a skillet, a stainless or cast iron skillet rather, and really just kind of fell in love with the craft process. I ended up just smuggling back backpacks full of beans to my shed here in Honesdale.
Nice.
Quickly realizing like there's potential with these beans. So I started reaching out to other coffee roasters and chocolate makers to see is there an opportunity to take this directly, transparently traded bean that's paid for fairly, to your market, and the volumes needed to do that were really really great. So instead, I started falling in love with just making small batches myself. So we quickly needed a bigger shed. The Himalayan Institute had a beautiful restored dairy barn that was available. A good portion of it was available, and spent the last few years renovating it and turning it into an organic, fair trade certified manufacturing facility. As modest as it is, it's home to our company, and from there we're able to make small batches of chocolate and coffee from the farms that we were sourcing from directly.
It's incredible. And I want to pause because I know a little bit about it. I'm sure not enough to be knowledgeable to any degree. And I'm sure people who are listening might have a question mark above their head. You're hearing fair trade. Yep. Like, I know as a consumer, I've seen it. I know I've done a little homework. I won't buy non-fair trade coffee for this very reason. What exactly, Jeff, is fair trade? Why should people lean towards that? Even if they don't, which you should go see them at 952 Bethany Turnpike in Honesdale and get some of their stuff today. But even if they don't lean towards MOKA for fair trade, why is fair trade so significant?
Yeah, so fair trade ensures that there's a base price paid to farmers for their beans, and it doesn't fall below that floor price. And so when you're dealing with a food crop that, like coffee or chocolate, these are fruit trees. And for example, on MOKA Origins farm, so the project in Cameroon, when we started MOKA, we actually jumped in with both feet. We're going to demonstrate and do this ourselves. We became cocoa farmers. So we started this farm to demonstrate and also challenge ourselves to really understand what barriers there are for farmers. But it takes about 4 to 5 years of nurturing a seed to a tree before it bears anything of value. And most farmers are doing that in really small scale farm sizes. So they might have a quarter of an acre, for example. And so when you're only producing a quarter of an acre, it's going to be tough to sell that and earn enough to sustain your year. So coffee farmers are also bankers and growing watermelon and seamstresses and all these other things. So when there's fair trade, when there's a system for fair trade, or one of the practices we call direct trade, even if it's not fair trade certified, we're paying fair trade or above, and we're doing it directly to ensure that that's happening.
Nice.
But with that price point being based off of living wage income needs versus the commodity stock exchange price for cocoa or coffee, which is how the big chocolate world or big coffee world typically works.
Right.
So that fair trade allows farmers to earn enough that provides them with living wage income. And I'll say it's not a perfect system. In fact, it's still very horribly defective as far as coffee and chocolate, maybe doing more damage than good on a bulk commodity scale. There's a lot of work to be done still to make it better. And but it's a step in the right direction. Fair trade for sure. The principles are sound, and it's a great way to to vet a source and make sure that there was ethics involved in the purchasing.
Definitely, and it sounds like big chocolate versus the small chocolate. It's like people saying, "Oh, well, the stock market's doing great, so our country's successful." Right. Not everybody's leaning there. Most of us are not leaning on that, and so that's a great point to be had. And looking back to cacao, now one of the cool things, and again, folks, if you're up there in Honesdale, you want to go check because you folks do wonderful tours, correct?
We do, yeah.
It is amazing, and my mom and dad, who are typically, let's just say, not inclined to stuff like that, they loved it. They adored it, and one of the things that I found, so, we're talking about half an acre, and maybe some people are saying, "Oh, half an acre? That sounds like a lot of room." How many cacao plants does it take to really sustain the farmers?
Yeah, it takes a lot. It takes quite a bit, and it takes so much that it's hard to have access to that land and then be able to grow that tree for so long before it gives you any value. Sure. So, for example, we can grow about 1,000 trees per hectare. That's about 500 trees, around 600 trees per acre. Mm-hmm. And what we're also doing on our farm and our farming community now, we have a co-op and farmers are coming in for these trainings are doing this as well, teaching intercropping. So, for example, if in 1 acre we're growing 500 cocoa trees, we're also growing 500 banana trees, mango, plantain. We grow avocado, papaya. It's it's as amazing as it sounds. But teaching this crop diversification so that when you grow a banana tree, for example, you can harvest that fruit and sell it within a year, or you can eat it while that tree of the banana shades the cocoa seedling and also protects that. And so there's a really nice economic relationship between these different fruit trees growing on the same plot of land. So teaching how to maximize the value of the effort of the land as well as the human effort of the farmers. Truly
getting the most out of it. Yeah, humanly possible. Absolutely. And again, your crew there, I won't call them staff, I won't call them anything. Your crew, your team, were so into it and just so engaged and so knowledgeable. It was truly amazing. But you talk about all these places, Jeff. What if, watch this, kids, this is called a lead-in on a podcast. What if people wanted to go and see what you're doing?
It's the best way to not only get familiar with cocoa and coffee, but to find an opportunity to see culture and communities off the beaten path. And so we started Origin Adventures a few years ago, and these are MOKA Origin Adventures where you can join us to the farms that grow the beans which we use to make chocolate out of. And these agricultural vacations take you far off the beaten path, whether it's the interior rainforest of the Dominican Republic or Uganda, where we're whitewater rafting on the Nile, and then in the cocoa farm harvesting cocoa fruits and making chocolate right off the farm, and then we're doing a big game safari. Afterwards, we're in the coffee farms, working with the coffee farmers who grow our beans. And what I do on these trips is bring together the vacation and cultural immersion meets sustainable agricultural production, and that being coffee and chocolate. And then I infuse it with understanding, what is fair trade? Let's see it in action, and let's actually volunteer and contribute towards it. So it's a pretty wild way to see these farms that we're talking about.
See, that's so much the powerful part of it. For me, I've always had inclinations toward culinary, and I will find a way to insert myself, back into a kitchen. I will now, do a cooking lesson, guest chef a gig, something like that, because I've been back there and I understand it, and I feel like so many people would benefit so much. It's so easy to walk in, even to your supermarket, and just buy what you buy and not really put a lot of thought down to the people and the hands behind it. This is the platitude behind this podcast has always been about meals coming from a kitchen and knowing the heart, mind, soul behind it. And I think, Jeff, this is a great opportunity. 149 episodes in, I'm finally going, oh, wow. So you can actually look at these and it's funny because cacao and coffee are kind of unique in that they're not kind of one-to-one. You can pick a banana, eat it, fine. But cacao and coffee need to be processed, roasted, loved, harnessed long before they get to we, the consumers. And so to have that knowledge on, it was Origin Adventures, correct?
That's right.
To gain that knowledge there, to see that firsthand, to see the people, to put names with the faces. I know when we were there for the tour, and perhaps you can help me, there was a gentleman who's, I don't know if it's the lead farmer or somebody like that.
And maybe Edwin.
Edwin, that's exactly who it is. Can you tell me a little bit about Edwin? Because I just want to say his name here on the show. I mean,
So Edwin is our general manager of MOKA Origins farm in Cameroon, and he's been a friend for a long time before I hired him for the project. In fact, I was hiring a operations manager for our not-for-profit library work. Edwin came in for an interview, background in agricultural management and community development. We became like instant friends, and we aligned around one thing. And Edwin was so confident in this that aid and charity are important at certain times, in certain applications, but they can almost do more harm than good when they create dependencies in communities.
Absolutely.
In communities that have potential to grow economically and change themselves. Mm-hmm. So we really connected over at this idea of MOKA Origins being a mission-focused product company that doesn't embrace charity in the traditional sense, uses a impact metric in our business model. So while we, just like every business evaluates its financial performance, we're also evaluating our mission and impact performance. And while our sales and, company's profitability grows, so does the impact of our efforts by sourcing responsibly from direct trade, transparent farmers throughout Africa, as well as investing our profits right back into Cameroon, into a farming community, and building the infrastructure needed for farmers to do what they do more efficiently. And we just his eyes lit up. It was like what his heart always wanted to work for a project in that direction, and this was like the opportunity for it. So we became like brothers at that moment. Ended up, and we were bootstrapping, trying to start a 1,200-acre cocoa farm in the middle of this bush. And he was like, "Let me just volunteer. Like, I don't even need to be paid." I'm like, "No, we'll take care of you, and we're gonna grow this over the course of our lives. This is something that will, outlive us, and we need to set the foundation." And he's a phenomenal guy. So if you ever, in fact, it'd be great for you to eventually come to our project site in Cameroon, meet Edwin and the team. So.
I would absolutely love to. And I have to ask you, you just said something very, very powerful, and it kind of leads into my typical question about the 5-year, the 10-year plan. This is something that's so much bigger than, just you, Jeff Abella, or the people that are around you right now. But that's got, when you wake up, how are you not in a good mood about the work that you're doing?
I love it. I mean, it's coffee and chocolate for one thing. So
first of all, you're lucky.
Too serious. There's days that they're like serious days, and then me and my operations manager laugh. We're like, you know what? We aren't talking about chocolate and coffee here. Let's just, but the richness behind it, like our efforts and our actions are making impact regardless of our intention. My intention is one way, but the company was built around this model of social entrepreneurship. So our business actions will have positive repercussions, and I just love that. I think one thing that I will say, there's been a lot of challenges in our Cameroon startup that we would not have been able to overcome if we hadn't been working there for the Himalayan Institute's not-for-profit programs. And so, it's like, and these are extraordinary challenges. It's like we're dealing with climate change and bushfires and tribalism and civil war, and now a global pandemic, and water shortages, drought, all kinds of things, pests. And it's not like we go to Home Depot or we go to the farm supply store. We go to India and we source pipes and then ship them over the ocean and then 3 months later, import them and then transport them on rugged land cargo for 3 days to our farm site. So the scope is, I guess my point is that, and every business will have these, but there's challenges and these roadblocks I feel are so much easier to overcome if we focus our day's intention around something that's ultimately positive, because you just get so much more momentum going. And that's what we've fallen in love with here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it has to be hard not to. I know from my visit, it was instant. I know from my wife, running up the credit card in your shop, which was amazing. I have to talk. I have to talk about some of the products too, because they're just amazing. And then I want to get into the afters, because now that I know Jeff Abella a little bit more, I've got to know a little bit more about Jeff Abella. But before we do that, let's talk. Again, folks, if you're looking for it, MOKAOrigins.com, 952 Bethany Turnpike in Honesdale. Give a ring, 570-979-1010 for more information. So when you go in, you're greeted by, first of all, some of the kindest faces. Prashant was the one gentleman.
Yeah, that's right.
Just incredible. Just phenomenal.
Yeah.
And we, instantly taken on a tour, then brought back out to the shop. And of course, you give the tour first, because then my wife's like, well, we have to try one of everything, which we pretty much did. The chocolate varietals. Let's talk there first. Where are you all going to get those creative ideas of what you do with it?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them are just in our test kitchen at home. My wife's got she's gifted in the culinary space as well. Just a lot of trial and error. Now, what's extra fun is this. The cocoa beans that we source all taste completely different. So, for example, our beans from Tanzania taste like fruit, almost like a red wine, versus our beans from Ghana, which have a really classic chocolatey note, a little bit more bitter note, and compared to our beans from Sierra Leone, a little graham cracker note, almost marshmallow. So we get these unique beans that have different flavor profiles from the terroir and the region, and then we work with them in such a way that we can make flavor additions. So we might add toffeed almond or lemon and ginger to some of them, and we pair the inclusions, we call them, with the cocoa beans to kind of complement each other.
Unreal. I can only begin to tell you how quickly the peppermint went. The peppermint was gone, dude. That
was dangerous.
Oh my goodness. It was a matter of a couple seconds. And actually my wife, she'll kill me for this, so of course I'm going to do it. She comes out of the pantry and like a guilty chipmunk, her cheeks are full and her eyes are bulging out. And she walks over and hands me half the bar back and goes, "Get this away from me." And it's been par for the course, Jeff. So, it's amazing stuff. Now, not just chocolate, people. The coffee was phenomenal, and they'll grind it there in the shop. They'll give you a sample. They'll let you taste it. Coffee varietals. Where are you going to get those ideas? Because I know there were a handful.
Yeah, you bet. So I do a lot of, I kind of prioritize African origins for our cocoa and our coffee. And what I think is great about that is Africa as a continent isn't really known for quality. It's known for quantity. It's known for like the majority of the cocoa in the world, but the low end stuff. And then not to mention like child slave labor. And you hear a lot of these other important discussion points, but there's another side of the story that's not being told, and we seek to change that, which is super high quality, rare varietals and origins. And so our coffee lineup represents that. Our Cameroon bean, we grow that with a beautiful team of about 1,400 farmers, a good number of them, I could name, and it grows right in our backyard there in Kumbo, Cameroon, Uganda, Ethiopia, and all the beans have very different flavors. And so like our Cameroon bean, roasted at a medium, it has a really nice kind of sweet body, good caramel note, pretty heavy finish. It makes an incredible espresso.
Nice.
The Uganda, a little bit more of that classic chocolatey note, super clean finish, not super heavy bodied, and has a little bit of like an apple fruit note. And then our Ethiopia, very very powerful fruit forward, blueberry, a little blackberry note, super crisp, kind of clean finish. And so we have a lot of fun with our sourcing, and hence MOKA Origins. The origins of our beans have a lot to do with our product development.
Okay, so chocolate, coffee. I've got to ask you about one more thing because we got it. I tried it, and I basically said, what the hell is this magic? What is drinking chocolate, Jeff?
Nice.
What is drinking chocolate?
Drinking chocolate. It's like hot chocolate, but better. So let's talk about chocolate for a minute. Mm-hmm. What is chocolate? And then I'll walk you through drinking chocolate. How does that sound?
Sure, it sounds great.
Cool. So let me explain chocolate a little bit. On the farm, you have a cocoa tree. A cocoa tree produces a big fruit. That fruit gives you a cocoa bean that then we take and roast it, deshell it, grind it for about 4 days continuously until we get huge tanks of beautiful liquid chocolate. And, chocolate's one of the only foods that's fermented and roasted. And I love, Shawn, you should fact check me on that, but I keep hearing chocolate sommeliers talking about how chocolate is more complex than wine, and here's why. Because the fermentation.
I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, we're grinding this chocolate, then we have these big vats of it. We pour it and we age it for about 1 month. And that aging process or resting process allows those flavors to kind of normalize. And at that point, we take it and we shave it into powder. So we take actual liquid chocolate, we let it solidify, and then we shave it down into powder, and that's our drinking chocolate. So it is literally chocolate versus hot cocoa, which is a company would take that big vat of chocolate, press it with a hydraulic press, extract this clear white liquid called cocoa butter, which often gets sold to pharmaceutical or cosmetic companies rather, and you're left with cocoa powder. They would then take that cocoa powder and bag it into hot cocoa mix. So drinking chocolate rather has all of that cocoa butter still in it. So it's like extra creamy and decadent, which you should taste the difference when you try it up against some Swiss Miss. Yeah.
That happened, Jeff. Thanks for that.
Okay.
It did, and it is. And drinking chocolate is the way to go. Without a question. I lied. One more thing. The chocolate tea. What's going on with that?
The chocolate tea, yeah. So our cocoa tea is when we take the cocoa beans, they're shipped in, we roast them. The next step is to deshell them. So we crack these, almost like, imagine like cracking open kind of like an almond, okay? And you have the papery shell. Well, the cocoa, when we crack that open, the husk or the shell has a really nice, subtle chocolate taste. And when you brew it with hot water, when you steep it, it's like kind of a nice herbal chocolatey tone. So what that is our chocolate tea is made out of the shells of our cocoa beans. We crush them open, separate the shells, and then we sell that as cocoa tea. And our cocoa nibs are what's on the inside, go into our chocolate making process.
Unbelievable. And so all of these products combined, not only can they come to the store, I say the store for lack of a better term, like your place, not only can they come there in person, but you have subscription services available via MOKAOrigins.com. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, we have a pretty fun subscription box called MOKA Box, and every month we make a chocolate bar and roast a bag of coffee that's only available to our subscribers. So, we did a mango lassi bar, espresso chocolate, toffee bar, and we make those exclusively for our subscribers, so they're pretty fun. And then another way to shop is, you can come to our website, you can subscribe, it shows up monthly. You can, come to our shop. That's like the ultimate. We love seeing you, giving you a quick tour, tasting anything you want. We'll even make you cups of coffee. It's fully complimentary. We just like spending time and educating the world on what coffee and chocolate can do to really change the world. And another way to shop us is in grocery. So, and kind of natural grocery stores. We're in about 100 locations throughout the U.S. You can find the map on our website. And then we also have 3 of our own cafes. They're currently closed at the moment, but these are One is here in Honesdale at the Himalayan Institute. So once we reopen, you're welcome to come back up and, have MOKA Origins served to you in a cup.
Nice. Very nice. Very nice. All around. Just an incredible experience. Again, folks looking for, something to do, something to learn. I know for me, anytime I want to go do something, I want to pick up something with it. Knowledge-wise, this is the place to do it, for sure. Jeff, before I let you go, I got to ask you some afters. It just wouldn't be right. It wouldn't be nice of me to let you go without some potentially embarrassing questions, but who knows? Maybe
bring it on.
Coolest cat in the room. Let's say you and I are working on some chocolate together there in your place. What music are we listening to? You're picking the music.
We're probably listening to either some West African pop, or maybe we're listening to some Marvin Gaye.
Nice.
Yep.
Okay. I got you. I got a better idea about Jeff Abella after that answer. This one's not even so fair because you've been to, what would be like tropical islands, but go with me here for a second. You're going to be stranded on a deserted island, and you can only take 3 foods or food type items with you. Inexhaustible supply, but only 3. What would they be and why?
Well, definitely we're going to take some potatoes.
Nice.
So
okay.
we can make fries,
Yep.
and we can also, regenerate them and grow more.
See, that's thinking like a farmer right there. He knows. He's played this game before.
We're going to take a cocoa pot because cocoa nibs inside there are like a superfood. So
Yep.
We have that going on. Plus, we're going to grow a few trees and propagate more. And I think we're going to take some vanilla bean. I love vanilla, and you can just jazz up anything with it. So we'll take some vanilla.
Fantastic.
Yes.
I love it. And again, they're all growable. Of course they are. He knows what he's doing, kids. Now I'm interested because we haven't talked much food to this point. So this one's really going to be intriguing for folks. Melanie Denea did a series of coffee table books called My Last Supper and the Next Course, and they had 50 famous chefs in each, one picture. She's a world-class photographer with the same questions. And, of course, they all revolve around that late-night chef/culinary industry game of you're getting your ticket punched tomorrow, your last meal is today, what is it, and why? So, Jeff Abella, I ask you, your ticket's getting punched tomorrow, what is your last supper?
Last supper is probably going to be Thai food for sure.
Nice.
Yep.
Anything in particular?
Probably a red curry, some pad thai, maybe some drunken noodles, and of course mango sticky rice. Yeah.
Nice.
So.
Awesome. Yeah. Mango sticky rice is, oh my God, for the win. And finally, Jeff, and I'm definitely intrigued by this just because of what a noble mission you've dedicated your life to. What is food to you in a single word?
Food is, let's see, for what I've seen for myself and for communities, it's sustainability.
Nice.
Yeah, it provides economic sustainability, and it provides the nurturance that we all need as humans to survive.
That's
and
incredible.
thrive.
Yeah, because like sustainability, it's kind of a weird word. You could hear that and go, "Oh wow, well that's a pretty technical term," but it really is a soft one because if we're not sustained, we don't exist.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Sustainability is overused, and I think it's overused in like 1 or 2 different ways. Too much, but it means so much, and it's such a term that I think can define a lot of different parts of society. But economic sustainability, I think about it with our staffing, and I think about it with our product line too. Every product we sell, we plant a tree. So we'll hit 100,000 trees this year.
Unreal.
I think about it in different ways. The way we source. When we buy beans, we're paying a fair wage that's sustaining the farmer. There's sustainability in our sourcing actions, and so I think when a company founds itself, looking at sustainability and defining it in across several different ways is important. Simply
Simply incredible. Mr. Jeff Abella, I cannot thank you enough for taking the time out of your day today to chat with us. Just a great story overall,
This
man.
was my pleasure, Shawn. Yeah, anytime. This is awesome. Come on back up, and won't even. You can leave your wife's credit card at home.
Yeah.
Well, in fact, we'll get you behind the chocolate machines, and we'll have a little fun too. So,
Oh, man.
thank you so much for the time today.
Thank you so much again, Jeff. Jeff Abella, CEO, co-founder of MOKA Origins, mokaorigins.com, located in my dear old Honesdale, 952 Bethany Turnpike, Honesdale, PA 18431. Call them at 570-979-1010. They're doing tours via Origin Adventures. They've got subscription services via MOKA Box, and there's tours right in shop, folks, and it really is just an educational experience, not just educational, but culturally enriching. So get out there, get up there today. Again, thank you, Jeff. Our producer, as always, has been the lovely, voluptuous Johnny Leland Robinson, a.k.a. the Reverend Johnny Lamoria. Be sure to check out his new podcast coming soon, perhaps with yours truly, wink, wink. Our next episode, please try to control your excitement. Number 150 is coming, and we got a big one. Stay tuned. Are you passing through central Pennsylvania and looking for one of the best dining experiences and craft brew menus around? Look no further. Turkey Hill Brewing Company and 991 Central Road in Bloomsburg, PA has everything you could ask for and then some. Service, food, beer together. Unbelievable. Be sure to check them out. Call them today for reservations. 570-387-8422. Call today.